In the heart of southern Nigeria rainforest lay two neighboring tribes, the Igbo and the Ibibio. Known for their rich traditions and deep spiritual beliefs, these tribes held a peculiar custom that sent shivers down the spine of anyone who heard of it. It was said that a wife must spend one night in the presence of her dead husband's corpse to prove her innocence should he die under suspicious circumstances. But there were other ordeals more worse than that. And so, in a small village called Akan Ibom, a young woman named Ekamma was known for her warmth and strength. At 22, she had recently married Ekamma, a man of integrity and kindness, respected by all in the community. Ekamma and Ekamma were deeply in love, and their union was a celebration of not only two souls but also of two families and, by extension, the entire community. For a while, their marriage was blissful. They worked their farm together, laughed under the starlit sky, and shared dreams of a large family. One morning, Ekamma awoke to find Ekamma lying beside her, cold and motionless. Panic surged through her as she frantically called his name, but no response came. She screamed, and soon, the neighbors rushed in, gathering around her as she sobbed, clutching Ekamma's body. Despite their shock, murmurs began to ripple through the crowd. People exchanged glances, whispering. In the Igbo tradition, an ancient belief held that a husband's untimely death might signal wrongdoing by his wife. For generations, the custom had dictated that the widow must undergo an ordeal to prove her innocence. Only by passing through this ritual could she absolve herself of blame. For Ekamma, this was a nightmare. She knew of the ritual, having heard stories from other women in her family. But she never imagined she would have to endure it herself. And yet, the village elders soon approached, solemn and expressionless, informing her of the steps she must take to prove her innocence. The ritual demanded 3 things of her. First, she would have to shave her head entirely, stripping herself of the hair she cherished. Secondly, she must spend the night alone in a locked room with Ekamma's corpse, facing the shadow of death that had taken him away from her. Lastly, and most dreadfully, she would have to drink the murky water that had been used to cleanse her husband's body. As evening approached, Ekamma was led to the center of the village, where the elders gathered. One of them, an elderly woman named Mama Obi, came forward with a knife and a calabash bowl. Mama Obi's hands were steady as she began shaving Ekamma's head. The crowd was silent, and Ekamma fought to keep her tears in check. She felt each strand of hair fall to the ground, symbolizing a piece of herself slipping away with it. When the shaving was done, the villagers ushered her toward the small hut where Ekamma's body had been laid out. The air inside was thick with the scent of herbs and incense meant to preserve the dead, but to Ekamma, it was a haunting reminder of her husband's absence. The door was closed behind her, the faint light of an oil lamp her only companion as she sat beside Ekamma's body. She felt the weight of the night pressing down upon her, as silence enveloped her in a suffocating grip. Ekamma tried to hold onto her memories of Ekamma, his laughter, and his gentle touch, but those memories mingled painfully with the awareness of his cold, lifeless form beside her. As the night dragged on, her fear ebbed and flowed, replaced at times by grief, then anger, and then a sorrow so profound it left her numb. When morning finally broke, Ekamma emerged from the hut, weary but alive. The villagers gathered once more to witness the final stage of the ordeal. Mama Obi held a small earthen pot in her hands. The murky water inside was tinged with herbs and ash, used to cleanse Ekamma's body the night before. To the crowd's watchful gaze, Ekamma knelt before the elder, closed her eyes, and brought the pot to her lips. She felt the gritty liquid slide down her throat, thick and foul. Her stomach churned, but she swallowed, determined to prove her innocence. When it was done, she remained on her knees, drained of all strength and spirit. The elders conferred among themselves before turning back to the crowd. An elder, known as Mama, spoke solemnly. "The gods have witnessed her ordeal," she announced. "Ekamma is innocent in their eyes and in ours. May Ekamma's spirit find peace, and may Ekamma live without shame among us." As the villagers dispersed, Ekamma's mother approached and wrapped her arms around her daughter, her touch a balm on Ekamma's broken spirit. Though she had endured the ritual, a part of her had been changed forever, as if she had left behind a part of herself in that room with Ekamma. In the days that followed, Ekamma moved like a shadow through the village, her shaved head and hollow eyes a silent testament to the tradition she had endured. With time, her strength began to return, and the community slowly accepted her back, though she would always carry the scars of the ordeal. Ekamma's story would go on to inspire quiet discussions in the village about the need to re-examine some customs. For the women who came after her, the elders would consider her bravery, and perhaps, one day, it would be enough to reshape this age-old tradition.